Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Spotter. Today I'm joined, I think it's episode 25. I'm joined by a special guest, Zara. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. We've been talking about this since, I think, October last year. We just spoke about it, didn't we? We were trying to figure out the dates.
Yeah.
I started this back in, it would have been May, 2025. And I don't know, the goal for this was really to get to a point where I can just get a vast array of people on, like from different backgrounds, not just people that I know, but obviously you and me have always, I'll let you do a proper introduction, but myself and Zara have always spoke. You're a very friendly individual. I think I am as well, sometimes. And we've always interacted at the gym. And then like October last year, I remember this. I saw you sort of sat looking at the T-bar in the gym, and I come up to you and said, "Do you want to spot?" Like, because you're looking as if you might need, and you were like, "Oh, I don't know." And I was like, "No, come on, let's just go for it." And that sort of spiraled a bit of a conversation over a few weeks that then I think led on to you having a couple of realizations yourself on your side as well. But yeah, I wanted to, we spoke about this. I wanted to get you on and see where the conversation takes us. I think you've got a lot to say. Already from our chat beforehand, I know that we've got very similar interests as well. So I think it'll be good to hopefully reach some other individuals and also some more females as well. Because I think the demographic of the podcast, when I look at the stats, which is fine, it's absolutely brilliant. At the minute, I seem to be just hitting a lot of the male population. So I want to try and expand and make sure that
girls.
Yeah, come on, girls. We've had Abs on, we've had Mum on, now yourself. So you're the third female on the podcast now. So no pressure. But yeah, over to you really, just to say basically just to give a bit of who you are, maybe a bit of your background. Led us to this basically.
Hi everyone, pleasure to be on the podcast. When you started the podcast, immediately I was like, I want to come on. I love a good excuse for a yap. So any excuse. But yeah, so I have just finished my uni degree this week in psychology and criminology. So
big congratulations.
Thank you. I love all psychology, mental health. I've always been interested in it. I've gone through my own mental health battles. I also work practically full time as well. And obviously gym goer as at the gym joint, the one and only.
Big up, yeah.
Big up. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, but
it's don't worry, it's not it's not an interview. Tell us 5 things about yourself. Yeah. That's a good segue, I think, into yourself. You're someone at the minute that is trying to juggle a lot. I think, to basically submit your dissertation and be at the end of a degree is always a big milestone. So I can imagine there's a lot of weight off your shoulders now, but then equally you've gone into probably a phase of worry about, and we were just talking about this, weren't we? What grade am I going to get?
So I think I just wanted to maybe talk about, I just love hearing other people's experiences and perspectives. And I think that's kind of what I want to do. If anyone relates to anything, especially in our generation, being a girl in our generation, being hard on ourselves, overloading ourselves, I think, there's lots to chit chat about.
When you say be hard on yourself, then is it the case that you have realised you've been doing that for years, or is that something that you've acknowledged that you've done over just the period of your degree? Is that just
my whole life? Yeah, I am an overachiever, a perfectionist, OCD, properly hard on myself. And it has its perks, but it has its cons as well.
And does that stem from, would you say it stems from family? Or is it, when you hear about high achievers and things like that, it usually stems, or a lot of the time it stems from upbringings, how parents were with children and sort of what environment you were brought up in? Or is it, do you think you've just, because you're from what I see, you're quite solo. You're an individual that focuses on themselves in a good way. Like you don't rely on other people. You know, like you're capable. So does that all play into that sort of persona that you have as well, and that sort of how you try to uphold yourself?
Yeah, I would say it definitely stems from, I wouldn't say family, but probably from childhood onwards. I'm a very hyper independent person. That definitely stems from things I've been through. My mum is also very hyper independent. I hate, like, my biggest fear is relying on people, and it's
Yeah,
something I definitely need to work on and have worked on. But it's a tricky thing to accept. I hate asking for help. I'm always like, I can do it on my own. There's this story that my dad brings out at every family party where
yeah,
I was 5 years old and we went on this big family skiing holiday.
yeah,
And I like just finished like the first like kid course, and he was taking me on like the mini adult course or something, and we were at the top of the slope, and he's like, right, okay, hold on to like my elbow and you'll be fine. And I was like elbowing him. I was like, I do it by my own. I do it by my own. And that he literally uses that because that is literally me to a T. But yeah, I went to like, I think it stems mostly from school with the high achieving. I went to an all girls private school in primary school and halfway up secondary school, and then did a 180, ended up going to like some really rough state schools, which I'll probably get into because that's played a big factor in my life. And I think with like these all girls private schools, specifically the ones I went to, it was all about being the best of the best. And if you weren't the best of the best, like who were you type of
yeah.
thing. I also did like really hardcore gymnastics traveling around the UK. And again, it was all about being and the team that I was in, we were always first. Like, I don't know if you've seen the TV show Dance Mums.
No, I haven't.
You haven't? Well, if
No.
anyone has, my gymnastics team was literally that. Like my coach would sit on our back in splits. Like, um, yeah. So it was just very high achieving, and I think whenever like I won something or I did something well, I learnt from a young age that you get like really good validation back from that. And I've gone through this like with my therapist that I definitely have a thing for validation. I love, like, I guess everyone loves validation, but maybe sometimes I like it a bit too much. Um, so yeah.
It's mad. Obviously, I know we haven't had an extended period of time where we can sit down and
Mm,
delve into these things. So I didn't know any of that about you, but that's why I like this as well, because even the people I've had on that I know really well, I still learn more. And
yeah.
that gives me a bit more of an insight then into perhaps like our conversations. But like, so you know, high achiever, it's sort of like been built into you.
Mm.
Do you think that that has benefited you in life? Like, for example, now with your degree, how you've been like so zoned in over the has it been 3 years you've done the degree? Was it 4 years? Did you do it over a longer period of time?
Um, well, it's a bit of a story. I actually went to university in Brighton, Sussex University. Did first year, was absolutely miserable.
Really?
It was a really rough time in my life, like mental health wise. And then I hated it, and my family were like, "No, stick it out, you'll be fine." Like my mum and dad. And then I was like, right, okay. Had the summer off. I'm going to give second year a go, and then had my own house with like housemates. Um, and then by the second month in, I was just like, I cannot stick this out at all. So I was talking to my mum and dad about deferring a year, and then kind of went behind their backs and actually just fully dropped out because I was like, I couldn't do it. They didn't take it so well, but they got to grips with it.
Yeah, understood eventually. Yeah.
And actually now they both say it was the best decision you ever made. So I ended up taking that year out, and I worked. I actually worked with SEN children that year, which was because I was like 19 at the time. That was wild, but the experience was insane. But also, I would love to do that job again, but now that I'm in a better headspace, it was very challenging. But
Yeah.
so I did that for the rest of the year, and then I heard about the Open University, which you do. It's fully online. You do it from home as and when you want. You're not like attending lectures or tutorials or anything. They just give you like a set amount of work. There are optional tutorials and stuff. And then I moved into a different job to sort of like my first, I call it my first big girl job in the corporate world, and which I'm still in now, and I've moved up in there. So I did that practically full time, and then did uni alongside it. So I've been with the Open University 3 years.
Yeah.
Kind of my whole uni experience has been like 5 years.
Expand, yeah. That's, do you know, it's valid. It's so actually valuable that you've said about that, because I think that whilst you've had that journey and it's now, and it will pay off, like you've got to where you want to be eventually, you've had that journey to get that to that point. I think some people struggle initially with understanding whether or not uni in general is for them, and
Yeah.
I don't think it is for everyone. Like for me, I knew at school you were pushed like constantly
Yeah.
to, have you done your UCAS? Have you done your UCAS? Yeah, and it was
GCSEs, A levels, uni.
yeah, and it's built into us to just go after results onto the next thing. And I thought to myself, just before we started like getting our UCAS applications in order, I thought to myself, well, I don't actually think I've made a decision for myself here. I think I've just been pushed into applying for universities for the sake of it.
I also, like, at the age of 17, 18, like, you don't know what you want to do.
I mean, I've only really recently realised, truly, in the last 2 years, what I want to do.
I still don't know what I want to do.
Yeah, and that's fine to admit. And
Yeah,
how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
just turned 23.
Yeah, so still very young, and
Yeah.
I think we need to start normalizing for people that,
Mm.
and it's so difficult because you've got the male female like differences in terms of like how life pans out and what should and shouldn't be done that's been built into us. But
So,
yeah, I just think there is no timeline. Life is very odd. Like you don't really know how long you've got. You can estimate it, but it's just a big journey. Like I think we don't need to deep many things as much as we do. Like
yes.
I
Yeah.
just when I was in school, everything was enjoyable. I took things less seriously. The minute I moved out of school into, I say, adult life, everything became pressurized, more serious, and you feel. And I did get trapped into it initially. I did my degree apprenticeship, and I pulled out after the second year with my current company. I was blessed that they put me on it, but
Mm.
I qualified with a foundation degree because I knew that there was no point in me carrying on. It wasn't adding to my job. It wasn't adding to my happiness. I felt so stressed out because of the added workload and trying to progress in my job.
Mm.
I did, far better by just coming away, progressing in my job, saving, and then eventually I've got to a point where I work 4 days a week, but compressed hours, 35 a week. The
Mm.
fifth day is dedicated to coaching, which I'm doing online now, and now I've started my level 3 PT qualification, so I can start getting that in order. But that's taken me years to get to. Like I'm 27, so it's 10 years ago I didn't think I'd be in this position. There is no set path in life, so we need to normalize changing and redirecting, because why do we need to stay in a single career or do one set thing and follow a certain path for 40 years?
I think there's just so much pressure about figuring out what you want to do. And I had this realization probably like a year or two ago, and it was one of my bosses. I love her to bits, and she was saying to me, she was like, "Why do you feel like you need your whole life planned out?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "I don't know." And she was like, she just she worded it very like effortlessly, and she was like, "You're say 21 now. Do you actually want to do what you want to do for the rest of your life now? Because to me that just seems a bit mundane." And I was like, "Yeah, do you know what? If I like found my end goal now, I've got like however long left. Could be years, could be decades, who knows?
Yeah.
But I actually think there is so much like there's so much in not knowing what you want to do. It's exciting.
It is.
Um, if you predicted everything and knew what you was going to happen, like it's just a bit boring. Life needs to be up and down. It can't be plateau.
Well, yeah, like you said, it keeps things interesting. And yeah, if you said to me, yeah, like Jake, you're on the path, in a year's time you would have hit your peak, like that's what you're doing for the rest of your life, nothing's going to change. You found the house, or this, that, and the other. And it's like, the art of not knowing is really quite exciting. And that's,
Powerful.
I mean, like, yeah, powerful. And also, I just like the journey of doing things, like
Yes,
figuring shit out.
that's the difference. Focusing on the journey rather than the
The
destination.
destination.
And I feel like that applies to basically everything.
Yeah, because the thing is, with you, as like your situation, you probably, if someone had said to you back in the day, you would have gone through, that 5, 6 year journey to get to where you are now. You would have said, "Oh, that doesn't sound like." You probably would have said, "That doesn't sound like me. That doesn't sound like what I'm gonna do to get there." So
Yeah, well,
yeah,
prime example of my job, I was working with SEN children and then I was working in a nursery. And to give you a bit of context, I was working in a nursery and I was also nannying for a friend of a friend who is now my boss. And I was just doing like 1 or 2 days a week. And she worked in a very successful investment banking company. And she came and asked if I could like help out with some admin work over the summer, and I was like, yeah, why not? And I love telling this story. But I was there, and my boss. So I'm a personal assistant, and
yeah,
my boss owns the investment banking company, and he collects sports cars. So one day he rang the office and he was like, okay, I'm broken down on the side of the road, like in my Lamborghini. I need someone to jump in one of my cars, drive it to me, wait in this car to get it fixed so I can get back like for my meetings. And everyone was like, no. And I was like 21 at the time. And I was like, why not? Like, you're never going to get that opportunity.
yeah.
So I jumped in the Lamborghini, like never driven anything like that in my life, and drove it to him. I was literally like on the steering wheel, like, don't crash, don't crash. And
What was
then,
that like? Quickly to drive a Lambo.
oh, sick. Like,
Did you like shit yourself to a point though where it actually was almost more nerve wracking realizing what you were in?
well, as I was like, I kind of said it without like agreeing to it without thinking, and then when I actually was like, oh my god, what if I just agreed to it? The nerves
Yeah,
started to kick in, and I was like, do you know what? If I wind myself up and make myself nervous, it's not going to do anything. Like,
yeah,
I just have to keep calm. So I actually relatively kept calm and everything. And my colleague Jess, she was in the passenger seat. She came down with me, and I started the engine. And she's like
yeah,
quite a
yeah.
few years older than me. I started the engine, and it obviously is like vroom, like really loud. And she was like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" And I was like, "Yes, it's fine. Like, you're in central London, you're going max 20 miles per hour." But secretly, I was like,
Oh my god, yeah,
um, so yeah, drove it to him. And then the next day he came to me and he was like, you had balls for that. Like, I didn't even think anyone was going to agree to that. And I was like, well, like I'm 21, like it'd be a cool story to tell.
yeah,
That's like why I did it. And he's like, you have got like a really good work ethic. And then over time, he was like, I know you're only here for like a few weeks, but he was like, I want you to like stay on. And I was like, okay, well, I could do this. Like, it's a really amazing company that I work for.
yeah,
And they're so good to their employees. And then anyway, and long story short, he ended up giving me like more stuff to do. And I basically just became his personal assistant. And still to this day, I get to drive the Lamborghinis and the Rolls Royces and the Aston Martins. And but anyway, the reason why I'm saying this story is because I was literally working in a nursery,
yeah,
and a couple months later, I was like, just my life did a 180.
yeah.
And that
It
I
did.
had the realization where I was like, you just never know what is going to happen.
No, and it's exciting, because I again never knew that about you, but that's amazing to hear. Like, that's a great story. So even in like 20, 30 years time to
Yeah,
relay that to someone, they'd be like, that's amazing.
like my
Um,
kids.
yeah, like that's amazing. So, I actually want to touch on, because again, I didn't know this, and again, the benefit of the podcast is we can go off in different directions. But you said did you say you did a year in between your uni journey with Sen children?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, what was that like?
that was tough, but um, it was eye opening. I think a lot of the teachers that I saw, because you were kind of one to one with children, and I was one to one with quite a few children, mostly young children with like ADHD or autism and stuff. And I feel like I saw a lot of the other like teaching assistants one to one, and they sort of like were talking down to the children, not like rude or anything, but I just came in with this perspective, like I was young. I feel like with children, you kind of need to get on their level.
Yeah.
They're not gonna, they're children, they're not gonna really listen, especially children with special needs and learning difficulties. You kind of just need to relate to them and um, like bring in new ways of learning stuff. So that's what I did. And there were days where it was good, there were days where it was rough. I think looking back on it, I wish I was in a better headspace because it was a big burden, like
Yeah.
taking on these children, and I wish I was mentally stronger. But also it did I think it gave me good life experience. And one of my options is to go into working with children, into child psychology. So it was a good experience for that.
I can imagine you learn a lot. And again, like you said, different headspace, maybe things you might have learned other things as well. But again, you'll be able to take that experience later in life. You know, even if you don't work in that industry in future, it's still something to look back on. It's probably taught you a lot about, you know, yourself, how you handle things as well, like how you cope with situations.
Yeah, because I when I was there in the school, I got the most amazing feedback because I was 19 at the time. All of the teachers were a lot older, and they were like, "I don't know how you do this. Like, you're so young." Da, da, da. And I had such a brave face, and like these children were that I was, especially the children I was one to one with, they could be very nasty at times. They'd throw stuff at you, hit you, like say the nastiest things, and you have to have like a very, very tough skin to not take it personally. And I was good. It did give me a very tough skin. But I was in the worst place mentally, and I was going home every day having panic attacks. Like I was on antidepressants at the time. And I haven't really looked back on it that much, but looking back on it now, it was like I was two people. When I was in my job, I was like very calm and collected, and then at home I would kind of like let it out. And yeah, it did take a big toll on me.
That's again extremely eye-opening as well. I think this is just this pays to that, you know, saying that you never know what's going on behind closed doors with certain individuals. Because again, you're quite, I'm not saying that's the case now, but I can imagine you were still quite a bubbly individual. You are
Oh,
now. Like you give off
yeah,
such like a welcoming persona, and I think I do to a degree as well. But that this is it. Like you paint a face, you put on a persona in certain situations, and that's what I've realised this year for myself. Like I've been doing that for a long time with people I love, people that are closest to me, and still you think to yourself, how have I gone this long? But like being someone that, well, basically realizing that I need to strip back to the core, um, and start allowing my true self to come out and stop putting on different personas to get through life. If that makes sense.
yeah.
Um,
I recently went through this with my therapist, and it was actually very eye-opening that I felt like I'm not good at being vulnerable. And my therapist, we were like kind of diving into it, and she was like, I basically can't show like when I'm down or when I'm struggling with something, I can't admit it. And we were kind of seeing like where that came from. And I was like, I don't know where it comes from. I think I just always like to be the best version of myself, and I like to other people to think I'm the best version of myself. And then you always hear these things about like loving yourself. You need to love yourself before you love others. And I thought I knew what that meant, but she said one day, she was like, to love yourself is to love all versions of yourself. And I was like, I do. I love myself. I love all versions of myself. And she was like, well, if you're hiding the not good versions of yourself and not letting other people see that, is that really loving yourself? And it was just eye opening because I didn't really realize I was even doing it. And so now I think it's important to let people know you're struggling. And I'm not saying shout it to the world, but
yeah,
like speak to a friend or um like an example is I'm so bad at asking for a spot at the gym.
you are.
I'm I'm so confident and bubbly, but when it comes to asking someone for literally a spot, I'm like, no, I can't do that. Like I can do it on my own. But no, it's honestly, it's like when you do it, it's not that scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's loving all versions of yourself, and I only figured out what that meant recently.
I I can relate to that. I I've only just this year start to be really, I guess, set and confident in the person I am, and like I accept who I am now. Yeah, like I'm so willing to let people like know what I like, what I did, what I don't like. Um,
That's hard, by the way, because I'm
yeah,
trying to do that now.
are you in that phase now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
just mostly uh, a big thing for me is you're a very big people pleaser. I'm a very big people pleaser, and that you want to do stuff to make things easier for other people, even if it takes a toll on
yeah,
you. And
always.
so now, like a thing I'm working on is saying no to things that I don't want to do. Um, and I just a lot of the time I repeat in my head like, this is your life. You're living your life for you, not for others. You're
Yeah,
not going to get to however old. You don't want to look back and be like, I made all my decisions based on how other people are going to feel.
yeah.
Where's that going to get you?
It's draining as well. Like, but when you're doing like acts of service, you're doing these things for people. You don't feel it. It's when you come out of it and you're in your own space. You're with yourself, with your thoughts. Because I've got a very overactive mind anyway, and
Mm.
constantly relaying thoughts and scenarios in my head. Like I, we could go on about this for ages. We might need to do like a part two as well, delve into like little subtopics. But with being a people pleaser, I'm an overthinker as well. I'll start to relay interactions in my head when they have happened already and think, did I say that in the right way or the wrong way? Do they now perceive me in a certain way?
Mm.
Um, Perhaps I could have done that in a different way because maybe they won't like me now. Like I, you made a great point about validation. What you're saying that desire from humans to be validated. We all have it in certain, like if anyone says they don't, they're lying. I personally believe that because we all want to be validated in some way, even if it's by
Yeah.
ourselves. Like, but
Validation is healthy to a
yeah,
degree.
yeah, for sure. But I would like go as far as being like, I need like concrete, like yes, no's. I need people to say that they have liked something. I do it all the time still. I'm getting better, but like if I
Yeah.
something as simple as if I make something like bake something for my nephews or family, I'll go around and be like, "What did you think of it? Like, tell me, what's the review? Give me a rating." And
Am I
it,
good enough?
yeah, I'm so like that, and I'm better with it in my relationship now. I'm not. I used to be quite bad in the early days, but I think that stems from other.
Mm.
Again, probably stems back to like parentage and how you brought up and things like that.
Yeah.
But I have a need to be liked. I have a need to
Yeah.
be like validated. I want people to like me and want to be my friend. And prior to the start of this year, that was like rife. I was constantly doing things to make sure that was um, the first priority. But this year, I've changed that now. I've started to strip it back and be like, look, I will put it down to, and I want to get onto this with you. I have had some therapy sessions this year, and that has massively helped. So you spoke about therapy, and are you currently going through therapy at the minute? Do you have a therapist?
Yeah. Oh God,
You
I've
do.
been in therapy since I was like 13, but
Wow.
but it's when since like 30 my teenage years they were like the non-profit organizations like cams,
Yeah.
uh, and it never I didn't really like it. It never really
Yeah.
did anything for me. I don't actually remember a lot of it, to be honest. It was always in these weird like dark dungy buildings as
Yeah.
well. um, and then I really would say I started my therapy journey during uni when I
Okay.
was going through this. So when I was working with SEN children, uh, I think my mum and my dad started to realise like I was having panic attacks every single day. I was
Yeah.
on antidepressants, and I didn't have the money at the time, so my dad ended up paying for a few sessions, uh, and that was helpful. I don't ever really think I clicked with her. I think it takes a while to find your therapist. And some people don't find their therapist until a lot later on in life. I ended up stopping with her because I kind of was like, oh, okay, I did get to a better place. I came off my antidepressants. The thing with therapy is like you can do therapy your whole life even when you think you don't need it. I think everyone benefits from therapy, but that's my personal opinion. Other people might disagree. And then I went back to therapy, I want to say last summer. Yeah, so coming up a year now. And I feel like I found my therapist, and we love Anna.
Shout out to Anna. Yeah.
Shout out to Anna. I might tell her to watch. Actually, she will watch this. She'll love this. But yeah, I think therapy is very beneficial.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just, to me, it feels like just a good chat every week, to process things and stuff.
Do you do what is it, yours, like an hour session?
Yeah, hour online,
Yeah.
every week.
It's the same as me. Like, sadly for myself, my therapist has now gone on. Well, not sadly, it's a good situation. She's gone on maternity leave, but so now I'm in a bit of a limbo state where I'm waiting on some recommendations. But I've had like a gap of about 4 weeks without, and I felt okay. But I don't want to get into a situation where I've done 4 and now left it thinking, oh, I'm all right now. It's not. I don't think it's a case of being all right and not all right. It's just something I want to stick with, to learn about myself, to understand myself, and to take these findings into my everyday and just start to feel a bit more confident in my thoughts, really. So I do need to continue with it.
I think it just helps you understand a lot about yourself, understand why you do things or why you look at things a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just very beneficial.
Yeah, I do
And
agree.
even the other week with my therapist, I feel like I'm in a very good place mentally at the minute.
Good.
And I actually started with her, and I did this whole timeline with her from like every sort of like traumatic event. I call it my trauma timeline. And we wanted to get into that. And then when I started with her, there was so much immediate stuff that came up over the past year. And we've never actually really delved into it. But now we're sort of delving into it because I haven't got much, I don't know, trauma going on or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said to her the other week, where I feel like we've sort of been talking about the same stuff. I don't really think we need to go into it. And she was like, that's absolutely fine. She was like, next week we'll take a check and see where we want to go. And I was saying to her when I had the session the following week, I was like, I've been trying to think all week, like, what's wrong with me, or what's going on wrong? Like, what can I fix? But I can't. I was like, I can't think of anything.
But even then, that take of what's wrong with me, you should rephrase that, because it's not. We shouldn't search for things that are wrong, because there's nothing wrong with you. Like, there's nothing. We're not wrong. Like, it's
no.
You're trying to find things to justify a session. Well, actually, sometimes it might just be that you need an hour without realizing you need an hour. Like, even on the first 4 sessions for me, the third and fourth, I went in thinking, well, I don't know what I'm going to talk about today, and you just talk about yesterday, the week prior, and suddenly and this is why I think it's so special what therapists can do, like good ones. They can just direct you into a portion of your timeline, and you're like, how did we end up there? And then I leave the hour, and I get really excited when I have like a revelation, and I'll go down to mum, and I'll be like, oh, you never guess what? Sit down. I'm going to tell you about what I've learned about myself.
Moments you get like
yeah, but it's just that it's. I know what you mean. Like, sometimes even in the early ones, I'd sit and think, what am I going to talk about? Like, I've really like shed in the first 2 hours about everything that's happened in my life. Like, I haven't got much else to give to paint the picture, but she still managed to direct me into a way of thinking about something I would never have thought about beforehand.
I think
they're powerful.
I think a lot of us along the way started, and I say a lot of us because I've spoken about this with a lot of my friends and stuff, that we started to look at ourselves like self-improvement projects. So when there's something wrong, you're like, okay, let's focus on that, let's fix that. and then you sort of get into this like cycle of constantly looking to fix things, because it sort of gives you some, well, I don't know, I'm talking from my own perspective, but it gives you something to focus on. It gives you like a purpose. And then there's been so many times where I've like, I literally one time had a list in my notes on my phone saying like stuff I need to fix about myself. And my boss looked at my
Yeah.
phone over my shoulder and she was like,
Yeah.
Zara, should we not do that? And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that was a rough time actually. But
Yeah.
I do think it's um, a lot to do with the negativity bias in our brain. We have a negativity bias, and I look at it as it's there to protect us and to push us to be better, um, which is good, but it also can be very not so good at the time. And one thing that I've done to help with this is I've named my brain, and I wanted to talk to you about this.
Okay,
Um,
delve into that because that's new to me. Yeah.
yeah, so I've named my brain Brenda. Um, and the reason I do this is because it helps me separate myself from my thoughts. So I'm very hard on myself. My brain has a very big negativity bias, and I'm a very anxious person and a massive overthinker. Like you said, I'll go over conversations I've had with people days later when they're probably not even thinking about it.
Yeah.
And you sort of get into these like whirlwinds of thoughts, and you don't even notice it, and so you actually kind of have to pull yourself out of it. And so I pull myself out of it and I actually speak out loud and I say, Brenda, I understand and appreciate your trying to look out for me, but actually it's not quite serving me at the
Yeah.
minute. So it's just separating you from your thoughts because you are not your thoughts.
Where did you learn to do that, or was it something that you just came up with? Did you read into a subject of trying to separate? I guess the whole theme of separating thoughts from a moment yourself, whatever, that is probably something that a lot of people do in certain ways. But what made you think of going down the route of naming your brain to have like I guess, a personification to it?
Yeah, I read a book. It's called The Little Voice in Your Head by Mo Gawdat. Amazing book, would recommend. Uh, and he named his brain Brian, and he
Okay.
was just saying that we so subconsciously like become our thoughts. Like he's works in like computer science, and the whole book is basically talking about your brain and your thoughts and the cognitive processes, and he relates it to like a computer. Like your brain is literally a computer, and he like comes up with these equations, and it's like your
Yeah.
thoughts equal your beliefs and your actions and everything. And he just said if you struggle with, along the lines, if you struggle with anxiety and you overthink a lot, like it can be, it's not for everyone, but it can be very beneficial to like try and separate the two.
Yeah.
You're not, what you've probably heard it a million times, you're not your thoughts. um and I found it just very beneficial to separate myself from my thoughts, because more than 50% of the time my thoughts do not serve me and are very negative towards myself.
You I have never thought about doing that. I Similar to you, but judging by what you said, I'm a very anxious individual. It's again, I would say it's got worse over the years. I think it's okay at the moment, but I've never
Yeah,
medicated. I've tried to avoid. I did try antidepressant. I say it try as if it's a flipping sweet. No, I didn't mean it like that. But I mean like I was on antidepressants for, I think it must have been a good 2 to 3 months, but I'm not sure if that was long enough for them to really take effect. I'm not sure.
wow, I
Um,
would say, because you really need to be on them for like a minimum of 6 months, because I did the same thing. I started them and came off them after a couple of months, and that ended very badly.
well, I did it because I didn't like the person I was becoming on them. Like
Mhm.
I felt like initially I started acting a bit more like a robot, a zombie. I felt like my emotions just started to flatline. Like I didn't really get excited about much. I wasn't up for doing anything. I felt very quiet, and I was like, I don't feel myself. So as much as like my head had gone quiet, I was not. I didn't feel myself in any way. So I was like, do you know what? I'm going to come off and
That's really
just try
interesting.
and work through it. But you said coming off of them initially just didn't go well. Was that just not a good period then?
Yeah, so the reason I was always against antidepressants,
Yeah.
I have friends who had been on them, and but for me, I was like, no, I can do it on my own, like da da da. But I got really depressed, and it was really bad and worrying to a point. And I think when you're in the depths of depression,
Yeah.
you're so in it. And I think if you haven't been through it, it's hard. You cannot relate to anyone who's been through depression. Um, and when you're trying, you want to get better, but how I explain it is when you're in the depths of it, you cannot think how to get better or plan how to get better, because every time I used to try and think, what can I do, it's so overwhelming, because it's like you don't just have set problems, everything just merges into one, and it's like this doom dark black cloud around you, and you want to like pick out things to 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 like help yourself to go down a better path, but it all just comes overwhelming at once. And so when you start to think about how to get better, your brain just goes into overload and overwhelm, and you're like, I can't do this, I need to shut away, it's easier to stay in this like depressed state. And I started on antidepressants, and then I kind of thought I'd got better after like a month or two,
Yeah.
and I didn't really do my research with them. And then I came off them, and I think quite a lot happened all at once when I came off them.
Yeah.
And I don't mind saying it on here, but sadly it ended in a suicide attempt, rushed into hospital and everything. And I was speaking to the paramedics, and they were like, well, you sort of like, I don't know, I disagree, and I agree. I think a lot of doctors, and they kind of say about antidepressants, and they say it so loosely. I don't think they should say it as loosely as they do. I just
Yeah.
got antidepressants chucked at me. But it did actually end up working very well for me, because I went back on them, and the experience I had with them was good, because it sort of parted the cloud, that really dark cloud, and it just gave me that little breathing space
Good.
to think how I like what to do and how I can like be better, basically. So the way I explain it is, I do agree with you, it makes you, it doesn't, you don't get big emotions, but that's sort of the reason I went onto them, because I had such big dark emotions and I couldn't.
Overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah. I was okay to give up the big happy emotions to have that breathing space, and I knew I was strong enough to eventually come off them, which I did. Yeah, so it just did, it gave me that.
It's supposed like a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel moment. We think I
Yeah,
can see. I
you,
can see. Yeah.
when you're in depression, you don't have a light at the end of the tunnel. You do, but you don't see it, and everyone's will come to you and say like, there's light at the end of the tunnel, just like think positive, and you're just like, you have no idea.
I, firstly, I appreciate you sharing that with us. I know it's like that must be, again, a lot to. I know you said like I don't mind sharing it, but you know, I appreciate it's a heavy thing to share. Like it's not easy, so I appreciate that. And again,
Yeah.
hopefully that people listening, you know, this is why I do this, because we can get snippets like this where others listening along, you know,
Yeah,
who think actually, okay, I'm not on my own in that situation. So
but I
um,
barely tell anyone about it actually.
really,
Yeah,
so it's actually quite big for you to admit that, like, and
yeah,
talk
it
about it
is.
out loud.
I
Yeah.
bet I didn't even speak to my therapist about it until like 9 months in, and she was like, "Oh, we haven't brought that up before."
Well,
Um,
is that
yeah,
Anna?
Anna, yeah.
Well, she's listening now, thinking, why have you opened up to Jake in one sitting and not me in 9 months? So, you know, if you want to do a partnership, just get and talk to me.
Well, I actually give Anna the benefit, because I opened up to her about
Yeah,
it, and she made me feel comfortable. So
yeah,
all credits to you, Anna.
yeah, exactly that. That is the magic over 9 months of what what she's done with you. So, and the work you've done together. But yeah, that's a lot to. It's actually quite a lot for me to take in and learn about you as well. Like it's amazing, but this is a lot for me to process,
Mm,
because I, you know, got closer to you over the last year and a half in the gym. And again, you just don't know. This is that going back to that point earlier in the podcast. You don't know what's going on and what has gone on with people. So
And
you
I'm
really just,
always happy and bubbly in the gym.
you
You
are.
would never
Yeah.
guess.
But I kind of want to tie it in now. You talk about coping, the situations that you've been through. Like I want to try and circle back to like a conversation we had at the start
Yeah,
and tie it into the gym. I wanted to hear like with your gym journey, like where are you now with that? How do you what is the gym to you? What, not just the gym joint, because that's a special place in itself. Like let's just admit it, everyone there is lovely. Like I've met some of my best friends from there. But then it's done a lot for me in dark times as well. But
yeah.
what is your gym journey for you? Like, are you, just so the people on the podcast know, are you intending to be a bodybuilder or like a professional bodybuilder? Are you just, is this just a means to an end? Is it a passion? Like, you know, like a lot of people say, and there was that argument I think on social media recently about gym being a form of therapy for people, and you have to be careful about that line because, and I do agree. I think if you actually need therapy, you shouldn't see the gym as a means of just getting by. It can definitely help,
Yeah.
but what is the gym to you? What does it mean to you? What does training mean to you?
Mm. This is a hard question to answer because I would say I've got a very love-hate relationship with the gym.
Mm.
The reason I started the gym a few years ago was I wasn't really looking after myself. I actually, no, to be honest, I went on holiday with my stepsisters at the time, and they all had amazing bodies. And I was like, oh my God, I feel like the fat friend and I need to like basically do something about it. And I don't know. I came back from that holiday on the Sunday, and on the Monday, the day after, I got a gym membership, and I just started going, and I had no idea what I was doing, and I've never not gone since. I just every single day, 5 days. I started off at 5 days a week. I do 4 days a week now,
Yeah.
but also I put this down to I'm quite autistic at times, uh, and like routine.
Yeah.
If I deviate from my routine, it throws me off. And anyone who knows me listening to this will probably be giggling because whenever my routine gets thrown off, I like just have such a fit. So I just kind of it became a part of my routine. And I was like, well, I'm locked in now. I have to go 4 times a week. But anyway, I started to see results like a few months in, and I was like, okay. And I started to learn things just by like watching other people, watching videos, but never really took it seriously. And I only really took it seriously. I joined the gym joint coming up 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would only say I've really taken the gym seriously in the past year. I have no hope of being a bodybuilder. I'm not going to go and do shows. I think the most I do want at some point want to do a photo shoot,
Nice.
but it's not high on my priority right now. But anyway, back to why I have a love-hate relationship with the gym. The gym is a very good outlet for me. I go because it keeps me fit. It does make me happy, but I go through phases with it where a lot of the time it feels like a chore,
Yeah.
like a tick list chore. I have no energy to go. I think a lot of people who don't go to the gym are like, oh, wish I had your motivation, like da da da. And I'm like, it's not
It's
motivation.
not.
It's just part of my routine. It's just discipline. No one, and I don't care who disagrees with this, no one wakes up every single day thinking, I can't wait to go to the gym. You do some days, but every single day, it's probably the last place you want to be. For me, definitely. I've actually spoken to a lot of people about this recently, about the gym not being your favourite place, because it's been that for me a lot of times, but I've still gone because it's just part of my routine and I can't let it slip from my routine. It's just like an OCD thing for me.
Yeah.
But I think our gym, I will say, is quite tough. It's tough to talk about this because I feel like, and maybe this is just what I see and what I take from people, that everyone who goes to our gym, it's like they eat, sleep, breathe the gym. And it's literally their whole life. And for me, it's not my whole life. I do tend to make it my whole life. And I wish I didn't so much. But again, I think it comes down to a lot of my own personality traits, high achieving,
Yes.
a lot of pressure, and the people in our gym are to such a high standard. They love it. They're so good at it, and I'm just like, I need to be the best, and I can't fail in this set. And so basically, times where I hate it is where I'm like not lifting the weights that I think I should be lifting. If I'm having a like, if I'm being weak for a week, I think as a female it's really hard because our hormones are up and down every single week, and I get severely affected by my cycle. And there's times where I'm like can't even lift 50% of the weight I should be lifting, and it throws me off, and I beat myself up about it. And everyone around me is like, Zara, you're human and it's completely normal. But I just, for some reason, can't accept that and can't take it in. So I think, yeah, I go through phases. A lot of the time I love it. I'm loving it at the minute. But I go through phases where it just feels like a chore and it's the last place I want to be.
I was intrigued because the reason I asked is, with everything you've been through, you often individuals in maybe a similar position have outlets in life, and I was intrigued to hear whether or not the gym was your outlet. Something that or was there something else? You would say it is, but is there any other things that you do, or maybe interactions you have with people, or is there people you go to? Like, what do you do to sort of like have that downtime mentally, or what's your like? For me, it is training, but it's also spawned a passion for bodybuilding over the years. So, which I'm grateful for. But like for yourself, perhaps when you've been at your darkest times, or what's the thing that you love the most?
I would like to say I'm quite a spiritual person. And I like to do things quite holistically. So I would literally say a lot of my outlets are going for walks. I love a good walk, journaling. I don't do it all the time. Sometimes I do it once every couple of months, but every time I do it, I'm like, I need to do this more often. Meditation.
Okay.
I try to meditate at least 5-10 minutes every day or every other day. I haven't done it every day at the minute, by the way, but I'm giving myself credit because I've just finished a degree and
Exactly.
work and everything. And yeah, I would say just those little things. I've recently been doing yoga more,
Nice.
which is actually, I think, is just making me like the gym a lot more, because the gym is very heavyweight, hardcore, where yoga is like you're breathing through it and it's just so grounding. And yeah, so stuff like yoga, meditation, journaling, walks, I always just feel very grounded
Yeah.
after it. And actually, I would say the last thing that I do that I've recently started doing was I love all things mental health. I
Yeah.
love all things psychology. But over the past 2 years, I got a bit too into it. Everything I was watching, reading was self help and how can I improve myself? And like now, I've actually pulled away from that. And I still do a bit. I love psychology and mental health. But I love just watching a good TV show or a movie. Audiobooks are my thing.
Yeah.
My cowboy romance audiobooks that I listen to at the minute, that is my outlet. I go for a walk, I stick in my audiobook, and it's so unrealistic, but I come out and I'm like, oh my god, like I actually just feel a lot lighter. It's my escapism. You need to, I think I balance it with escapism, and it's very healthy how I balance it. So
That's good to hear, because I was thinking to myself, like, after you said that about the gym, I was thinking like, well, what are your things that you do in your own time to, I guess, balance out the energy? Yeah.
I've only recently started doing it, so I kind of look back and I was like, no wonder I was miserable. I was not balancing it with anything.
Yeah. I think, again, similar to me, like I used to be. I'm glad you said like just enjoying a TV show. Like I used to
Oh
give
yeah,
myself slack for watching
yes,
something for an hour a day. I'd be like, what are you doing with your hour? Like, you're sitting watching something. You could be going out for a walk. You could be on the bike. You could be thinking about a business
yes.
night. I was like, why can't I
That was
just switch off?
yeah. And then you say you're going to switch off and you say you're going to rest, and physically you could be resting, but mentally you're not, and you can't understand why you're not feeling rested and you're tired. It's because you're not actually letting yourself rest. You need to let yourself mentally and physically rest.
See, the only times I truly feel like I've rested is when I've gone away for long enough to start forgetting about some of the things. So, like,
Yeah.
recently went away for Abby's birthday, and we had a period off abroad, and then a couple of days back in the country, but I wasn't working, and it was just time for the two of us. And after 2-3 days of being separated from my normal routine, I hate it, but equally then that's enough for me to be like, okay, you're in a different phase now. Just accept what's happening and enjoy it. Then I feel rested. But I we're creatures of habit. I come back into my routine and I love it, but
Yeah.
I still am hard on myself. I still feel the need to justify to people that, yeah, sometimes a lot of my close friends, but I feel like I have to justify to my family like what I'm doing with my time. Like on my Fridays that are my coaching day, if my check-ins take me from 9 until 11, I feel like I have to justify what I'm doing for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
It's mental. I
Yeah.
don't know
And
why we're so hard on ourselves.
that was one of my not so good sides that I was hiding from people. I could never let anyone know that I was lying down for 10 minutes
That's
or
bad, isn't it?
that I was resting. For some reason, it was just like to let someone know I was resting and not actually doing anything productive with my time. Oh, God, no, can't do it.
Yeah, it's like admitting to some downtime is like the worst thing in the world, and people are going to
Yeah.
judge you for it. But in reality, everyone is doing that, if not a lot more than what you're
You
worrying about.
Yeah, or
Yeah,
other people burn out.
yeah.
And I have experienced many, many burnouts for my age, and I'll probably go through more. But yeah, focusing on not burning out so much.
Well, I wanted to, before we sort of come to an end for
Yeah.
this, I'm going to call it a part one because similar with Rohan in the last episode, I've acknowledged with both of you that there's a lot to carry on talking about. So if you're happy to come on again in future,
Oh,
I'd
I'd
love to
love
delve
to
into
do
a lot more.
part two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll do it. But we mentioned at the start like how we got closer, we interacted at the gym, and then
Mhm.
October last year I noticed that I again, you didn't ask for a spot, but I knew deep down that you needed one, and you did ask the other day for one on hack squat, and look how that went. So
I did.
there we go. It's my
But
football
another thing
skills.
you said to me, sorry, another thing you said to me when we first started talking was you actually knew I wasn't okay in myself that day. I was going through a really rough time. And you said to me very gently, not pushy, you were like, if you ever want to chat, I'm here. And I came away and I was like, that guy must have magic powers. How did he know I was not okay? And we had like a very harmless chat. And I was saying basically, I was just really stressed with uni exams and work was very up. And I was like not lifting the weights I should be at the gym. And you really simply explained that you kind of split it into three. I remember this. And it's the way you used your hands as well. You were like,
I'm
you're
very expressive. Like I am quite expressive.
okay. Probably everyone's watching this and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
But you were explaining like, okay, right now you're looking at you want uni here, work here, gym here. You literally said to me, Zara, you'll burn out if you do that. You said uni might need to be a priority, work might need to be here, gym might need to be here. And then you were like, because you noticed how hard I was being on myself, and you were like, I don't know why you're being so hard, or something along those lines. And I was like, I wasn't hearing you at the time, but I was like, no, but I need to get this done. And and you said it was the one thing, and it's always stuck with me, that perfection is what you decide it is.
Yeah.
And
My perfection is different to what yours is, but also your perfection is going to be different today to what it is tomorrow. Like we hold standards are whatever we decide they are. No one else is setting, unless you ask someone to set a standard for you, or your institutions, schools, places like that are holding you to a standard because that's what they want you to achieve to make them look good. But our self standards are whatever we decide them to be, and on some days that is up here, some's down here, and it's also subject dependent as well, and you're passion dependent. But I just noticed that you just seemed off with yourself, and that's why I was like to you, I was like, you know what? And it was a quiet gym, and I was like, if you need a hand or you just want to chat, I was like, please do. Like, I'd be wrong if I was saying anything otherwise, because I'm doing the podcast as well to be able to try and get people to open up to help other people.
yeah,
But that
it's very powerful thing to do, to
Yeah.
just say it. If you ever want to chat, I'm here. Just throw it out there. And I wish I did that more for people. It's definitely something I want to do more, because it can be scary, but actually once you do it, you realize it's not that scary, but actually it can change someone's day.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you know?
really?
Yeah. I think that talking, that the power to be able to make someone's day 10% better by having a brief conversation with them,
Yeah.
that's mental. Like, it's
If
great.
you
Like, it's,
take it or don't take it, it's
yeah.
just the feeling of someone just putting it out there, being like, oh, actually, there is someone out there.
Yeah. And then, after that, like, I knew obviously when we had a couple more conversations, you were going into a really busy period, but I
Mm.
checked in on you. You would update me with how things were going. We had a couple more chats at the gym. I remember around the glute drive, we were talking about your exams coming up and
Yeah.
how it was going to ramp up. And I just thought to
You
myself,
kept saying, let me know about your results. Let me
yeah,
know how you do.
yeah. I was like, and I just sometimes you never know if someone needs that almost like supportive hand just to let them know they're not alone in life as well. So I
Yeah,
hope it helped. And equally, now you're past this, what are we now going into June. That's mental to think that was October, November period. Like, you're past probably one of the busiest periods of your life,
mm.
and mentally taxing. So,
Yeah,
hopefully you're past it now. You can see, you can breathe a bit more now. You feel a bit more, I don't know, free mentally, and you can see, a different future unfolding as well with what you've done.
definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can actually rest now. I think it's hard to rest when you're doing a degree, because there is always so much more coursework and reading you can do. And still, I finished on Tuesday. I keep catching myself lying down and being like, okay, what are the uni work? And I'm like, oh, I don't have any
you don't
left.
have it. Yeah,
I can
but then
actually rest.
you can actually rest and not feel guilty. But we probably still do at some points.
Yeah.
What's on the horizon then for you next? Like, what are you thinking? And maybe you haven't, like, maybe there's not at the minute, but like, what are you thinking? Is there anything that you wanted to do next? Have you thought about, like, progressions in your current career, like any other hobbies you want to take up? Like, now you've, got through your degree, has it opened up any other thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm sticking with my current job at the minute, but I'm still going to do my personal assistant work. But they've actually offered me a 6 month contract in HR and compliance, and
Awesome.
that's not what I want to do long term. But I think it's come at literally the perfect time, because number one, it would be really good experience, great to put on my CV. Actually, a lot of people who study psychology, sort of, if they want to go down the corporate route, they go into human resources. So I think it would be good to just get the experience, and it gives me 6 months to just think what I want to do. And
Yeah.
knowing my company, I'll probably get to the end of the 6 months and they'll be like, I want to keep you on. And I'll be like, okay. But then that's when I'll actually have to be like, am I just going to keep doing
Yeah.
this? I need to kind of think. So I'm going to do that for 6 months. I do really want to do a bit of traveling.
Awesome.
However, I'm not the this is where my princess side comes out. I'm not the backpacking hostel type vibe.
There's no shame in that. Yeah.
So I need to think. My brother and sister both live in Australia, so
Yeah.
I think I can always go and stay with them, and maybe do a month. And I wouldn't do like 6 months, but I'd love to just go through Asia. I actually really, really want to do a volunteering holiday, work with children in schools in Asia, or South America, but I'm not sure how South America would go on my own. I've heard a lot of people have put their opinions. They're like, you can't go on your own. But anyway, I'm rambling now.
No, that's
Um,
fine.
so yeah, I would like to do some traveling after the 6 months, and then long term career wise, I'm not setting myself a plan, but child psychology, or recently I've really been thinking about sports psychology.
Awesome.
Yeah, I have no idea what it entails. I need to do my research. But I was speaking to a friend of a friend, and she's like in her mid 40s, and she's gone back to do her master's in sports psychology. And she was talking me through it, and it just sounded really interesting. And I was like, well, I love fitness and I love sports and I love psychology. So it's definitely something I want to read about and I'm interested in. If not, child psychology is definitely still an interest of mine. Um, my degree is in psychology and criminology, so I could always go down the criminal psychology route, but I'm not too sure about that. But I always say, as long as I've got ideas and options, then I'm okay. And I do, I know the person I am. I am very determined. I'm very disciplined. I know I'll always be okay because I'll never let myself get into a position where I'm not. So yeah, I think I've got options. I've got ideas. Gym wise, just going to keep going how I'm going. I want to keep it more of a lifestyle thing rather
Yeah.
than like a
Not putting
specific.
too much pressure into it. Yeah.
Yeah. I've recently just done a very mini bulk and a very mini cut, 10-week bulk, 10-week cut. I don't know why I decided to do that during my dissertations, but no, it actually was very good. I was just learning the ropes, and I do think I'll do it again at some point, even though I've messaged a lot of my friends during this cut being like, I'm never doing this again. I hate it. And I'm like, I finished my cut next week. But actually, I know I did. It was good experience. And then long term, I'd love to do a photo shoot at some point. Um, but I actually need to get a coach to do that. I can't do that on my own. I can
You're
accept
you're
that.
not like what's good to hear is you're just not boxing yourself in. Like you're keeping it
No.
open, and
And I
that's
used
the
to
best thing.
do
That's
that.
healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to do that a lot, and I don't anymore.
It's the healthy way to be, and it's clear. You seem like you've got from the Zara I was speaking to in October, seems to be a different one that I'm speaking to today in a good way. So it seems like in that short space of time, like long but short space of time, such a busy period and taxing period mentally, you seem to have done a lot of personal growth.
Yeah,
So
massive.
really, like long may it continue.
Yeah, and I'm very happy to accept that life is going to be up and down. I'm going to go through down phases. Life is going to throw shit at you. But it's, as cliche as it sounds, it's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's about how many times you stand back up.
Yeah,
And every time you get knocked down, every down phase you have, you might not realize it. It's going to teach you something about yourself. Look at it like a learning lesson, not that it's you're failing or anything like that.
one step forward, two steps back. Same, yeah. So always the same. It's basically just the same way, but or the same saying in a different saying. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're bang on there, and
I call it bounce back ability. We all have it.
yeah, and it's what keeps us learning about ourselves throughout life, and it is
Mm.
it would be a very boring life if everything went to plan. I think
Yes. Yeah.
so. What Zara, to end these installments, as much as we could carry on, I would like you to try and. It's not deep, really, but you've delved into a lot today, and I think people that we know, I know obviously, a lot of your friends will probably listen, and they know a fair bit of this about you, but maybe people from my side won't
Yeah.
know this, and hopefully we can attract people that are, don't know us, but just listen through finding the podcast, and it's going to be amazing. But if anyone's listened to this and they're struggling, they're going through something of their own, potentially don't see a way out,
Mm.
or they need a helping hand, what one piece of advice, if you could, it could be anything, perhaps something that you've had in your life or something that you think would help another individual, what would you give to someone that's listening, perhaps at a very, a tough point in their life, they're struggling, suffering in silence? It's quite a loaded question. It could be anything,
No,
but maybe something that's helped
I have
you.
so many things that come to my head, but I like to think about if anyone is struggling now, what helped me during my darkest phases. Uh, I think acceptance. So I always I have this saying, healing equals feeling. And a lot of the time when negative emotions come to us, we subconsciously or consciously resist them. But actually, and I've learned this along my sort of spiritual journey, is resisting causes more suffering. And learning to accept and acknowledge the emotions is will work a lot better for you. Healing equals feeling. Um, and another thing I like to do is to imagine that my younger self is with me, 5, 6, 7 years old, and she's there holding my hand and she's going through same issues or she's going through something. What advice would you give her? I think it just puts it into a different perspective. So yeah, and again, try not think of everything all at once. I think that's what I did when I was in my dark phases. Sort of try and break it down, little steps, little baby steps.
That's golden. You've actually given 3
Is
bits
that
of advice when I asked for one. Like,
right?
you were like thinking, I don't know what I'm going to say, and then suddenly went,
I
what you
know.
said before, yeah.
So I was like, I want to say all of it, but I can't.
Yeah, no, that's golden. Like, that you've just given me 3 snippets to make at the end of the podcast, which is brilliant. So thank you very much for that.
Well,
I mean, takeaway for me is, what do
yes.
I name my brain?
What
What,
do you
what do
know,
I? I'm going
brain?
to have to think of a name for my brain to try and separate. I think that's genuinely a very. I've never heard of doing that, so I want to try and put that into practice after this. Name my brain and start to
It also
separate my
doesn't have
thoughts.
to begin with a B, by the way. I just did it. Brenda, just
So
Brenda suits my brain because I'm just like,
Brenda,
Brenda, please chill.
it's got a nice ring to it as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
I'll have to put some thought into it, but I like that.
Let
I
me know.
feel like I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from talking to you today, and
Oh,
I do want to get you on for part
yes.
2, probably part 3, and a part 4 because it sounds like we've got a lot to talk about.
Oh, God, there is so much I haven't said, so much still to talk about. I love a good yap.
So
So,
do I. And when you get 2 people that like to chat, you can just go on for hours and hours and hours. So
yeah.
we'll generate a lot more content, I'm sure, down the line across this year.
Can't get
So
with me.
no, that's it now, part 1.
Sorry, guys.
So yeah, thank you very much for coming on and agreeing to come on. I think it's going to be a massive help for people we know that listen, and just those coming across the podcast for the first time. And yeah, it's hopefully it's been a good experience for you to come on as well.
Oh, it's been amazing. Thank you for having
Awesome.
me on. And you're a very, very good listener. So,
Thank you very
thanks.
much. It's yeah, I like listening, I like talking, and yeah, hopefully I can do a lot more of it over time. Keep pushing the spot a message on the podcast.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. All right, thank you very much, Zara.
Okay. Thanks, Jake.